Next, it is the moral reason of power sharing. Why power sharing is desirable in a democracy, its moral reason we are now going to analyze. See, if one of our friends didn't bring pen to the classroom, what normally we will do? We will share our pen with that person. Or if our friend didn't bring the lunch, we will share our lunch to that student. See, it shows that is the real spirit of friendship. Likewise, in a democracy, sharing the power between all the different social groups is the very spirit of democracy. That is the very spirit of democracy. In a democracy, everything we have to share. That means all the social groups, they should have an equal position in the society. They should be considered as equal. We should give ample, importance to everyone. So that is the moral side. It is the very, sharing is the very spirit of democracy. Also we can say that in a democracy, there should be a sharing between those who exercise the power and those who live with its effect. So, till now we were analyzing what are the reasons, what are the two ways in which we can say that power sharing is essential in a democracy. In order to prove that power sharing is very, very important in a democracy, we analyzed two reasons. One is its prudential reason and the other one is moral reason. Prudential reason, we came to the conclusion that if we share the power in a democracy with all the social group, then there will not be any conflict or violence and there will be peace and harmony throughout. Whereas if we didn't share the power, there will be conflict. That is the prudential reason. And moral reason is, it is the very spirit of democracy. In a democracy, all the social groups should share the power, and that is the spirit of democracy. Next, we are moving to the next topic. What are the different types of power sharing? In a democracy, we can share power in different ways. So with whom all we have to share the power? The first one is power shared between different organs of the government. Second one, the power shared between different levels of government. Third one is the power shared between different social groups. And fourth one is the power shared between political parties, pressure groups and movements. I repeat once more, there are four types of power sharing. First one is power shared between different organs of government. Second one is the power shared between different levels of government. Third one is the power shared between different social groups. Fourth one is the power shared between political parties, pressure groups and movements. Now we can study in detail what are the different forms of power sharing. The first one is power shared between different organs of the government. Which are the organs of the government? You have learned in your class 8 which are the three organs of the government. Legislative, executive and judiciary are the three organs of the government. You have learned about all these three organs and its functions, everything in class 8. So I am not repeating it again. So you have to remember that executive, legislative and judiciary are the three organs. And the sharing of power between these three organs is one way how power is shared in a democracy. All these three organs have equal powers. Whether it is legislative, executive or judiciary, it is not one below the other. They have equal powers. They were written in a horizontal way, not one below the other. In a horizontal way, we can write when we analyze the power of these three organs. So we can say that this type of power sharing can be called in another way, that is horizontal power sharing. That means all these three organs are having equal powers in democracy. No organ is superior and no organ is inferior. All the three organs are having equal power in a democracy. Hence, we can call it as horizontal. In mathematics, you have learned how to draw a horizontal. This is a horizontal line. See, all these three organs have equal powers. Hence, we can say that it is a horizontal power sharing. There is one more name for this type of power sharing, and it is known as the check and balance system. Why this is known as check and balance? See, I told that all these three organs have equal powers. No one is above and no one is below. That means if legislative do anything wrong, then judiciary can take the actions. If executive goes wrong, then legislative can take the actions. If judiciary goes wrong, then also legislative can take the actions. That means no organ can become superior in a democracy. If any organ tried to do that, if legislative tried to dominate, then executive and judiciary, they will question it, and thereby they will balance the power among the three. No one is superior and no one is inferior. So that is why it is known as check and balance system. That means each organ acts as a check upon each other, and thereby balance is maintained in a democracy. So the first form of power sharing is power shared between different organs of government, that is legislative, executive and judiciary. It is also known as horizontal power sharing, as the power is distributed horizontally in a democracy. It is also known as check and balance system because each organ acts as a check upon each other. Next it is the second form of power sharing, that is the power shared between different levels of government. We all know that in India there are different levels. Levels means one below the other. Central government for the entire nation, state governments for every state, and local self-government in the local level. There are different levels of government. The power shared between these three levels of government is the second form of power sharing we can see in a democracy. See, we call this type of power sharing in another way. That means a country with more than two levels of government, we call such countries with another name, that is a federal country. You might have heard that India is a federal country. Federalism means, or a federal country means, a country with more than two levels of government. In India, we have central government, state government, local government. Local government means Gram Panchayat, Gram Panchayat, we can see there's a local government. Municipalities, in corporation, we can see the government. So we have three levels of governments in India. In the case study also we have learned that in Belgium they have formed the three levels of government, that is central government for the entire nation, regional governments, and lastly a new type of government known as community government. So Belgium is an example for a country with more than two levels of government. We call such countries as a federal country. In India also we can see that there are three levels of government and the power is shared between all the three levels of government. Hence we can give this power sharing with two other names. One is vertical form of power sharing, because the levels of government we will write in a vertical way. Central government, state government, local government. So it is vertical form of power sharing. The other one is, it is federal form of power sharing, because there are two or more levels of government are there and power is shared between all these levels of government. So we can say this as federal form of power sharing. The second form of power sharing is power shared between different levels of government, that is central, state and local governments. In India, it has two more other names. One is, it is a vertical form of power sharing, and it is also known as, it is a federal form of power sharing. Next, and the third form of power sharing is power shared between different social groups. And we have already learned that social groups means groups in a country based on either language or religion. It can be a linguistic basis or it can be a religious basis divisions. We call them as social groups. So almost in every countries we can see that there are social groups. In India, we can see the social groups based on religion, language, culture, tradition and all. In Belgium, we already learned that the social group is based on their languages spoken. So social groups we can see either based on the religion or based on the languages. In a democracy, such kind of social groups should share the power. One example, we can say that in Belgium, we learned that a typical example for power sharing between social group is community government. How community government share all those language speakers. We already learned that. So community government is a good example for how power sharing between social groups. See that government will take after or look after all the language, religious related issues. Thereby that government will try to solve all the problems related to each and every social groups in Belgium. In India too, we have an example how power sharing is done among the social group. That is, in 9th standard we learned that how power sharing is done in our country. There are different groups based on languages as well as religion as well as caste. We have different social groups, and we share the power with all these social groups that we learned in 9th standard by granting reservation of seat for SC, ST and OBC. We share the power with them. We give them equal position with that of the other people in the country, and we brought them to the forefront of the society. Thereby we shared power with them in our country. So reservation of seats for SC, ST, OBC in the elections, in the governmental jobs as well as in educational institution is a good example how we shared the power between different social groups in India. Community government is a good example how power is shared between different social groups. So the third form of power sharing is power shared between different social groups based on language or religion, and reservation of seats and community government are the two examples for that.